California, and welcome to another edition of Global TV Talk Show. It's a business unit of globalbusinessnews.net and Co-Marketing Partners, which is the original holding company that I set up a very long time ago. I think it's almost 50 years. Well, anyway, in a few minutes, we're going to have a special edition featuring Ron Cooper, Washington, D.C. area based executive trainer. He is former military commander, Air Force pilot during the Vietnam era, should say, and area. And also during that time, I was in the U.S. Army Medical Corps in the reserves based out of Boston. My role was trained as a nurse practitioner in an operating room theater. The leadership of that unique medical unit was from Harvard Business and Harvard Medical Schools and the Massachusetts General Hospital. So I was honored to be in that elite group. I spent most of my time in hospitals, not overseas. Work that was done, and I'll be brief here, was videoing procedures that were then express airmailed to medical units in the field. It was a unique situation a long time ago. Today, Ron Cooper is an executive trainer. He takes a precision-based thinking and methodology to making sure the client knows what's in it for them to do business with Ron Cooper, the Cooper culture. We'll be right back with our broadcast. I'm going to pause this. I'll see you soon. Okay, we're back, and this is Global TV Talk Show. Welcome, Ron Cooper, the Cooper culture.
Yeah, thank you. It's always good to be with you and your vast listening, viewing audience.
Yeah, thank you. It's great. So the topic is about multi-generations in the workforce. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but the note taker is coming in right now. Order. Okay. Is multi-gens in the workforce, but with a focus on Gen Z is a huge population and different. What's your take?
Well, it's let's just say, Ed, it's a factual matter that we boomers will be retiring, transitioning something at some point. We will not continue in the capacity in which we are. Mike Rowe made a statement the other day that there are 5 of us boomers leaving the workforce and only 2 in the Gen Z, the younger generation, to replace us. And so, all right, at this point, I don't know that that's factually correct, but I'm not going to challenge it. Let's just assume, for the sake of conversation, that is correct, Ed. And so there's going to be a numerical disparity. Well, I believe that's largely accepted that the birth rate is not going to sustain the current population, the current birth rate. And so whether there's a brain drain or at least there's a numbers going to be a disparity. So meaning, okay, if 5 of us boomers are leaving the workforce at whatever time, over some period of time, and only 2 people are replacing us, that clearly means there will be a smaller workforce. Now, I'm not here to say that less work will be done, but I do believe that through technology, adjustments will be made that perhaps through technology, those coming in after us will determine through critical thinking, any other means, technology. Okay, we've got fewer people to do the same amount or maybe even more work than's being done right now. How are we going to make this happen? And so I'm very interested in learning and working with those who will be replacing you and me, Ed. That's kind of a very elementary premise.
So I've developed this TV talk show, the Global Meeting Room, as a result of back in March 2020 when COVID crashed into my 30 years of producing live meetings and events. And so now I've gotten really used to doing this without the travel expense and without the other hassles and risks. But there's still a presence for doing live meetings, and we'll try to develop, even at this late stage, I'll try to develop a program that will have a combination of Zoom and in person to enlarge the audience for the speakers and the co-sponsors each time, of course, and
You
to
know, Ed, in that
record.
context, and I'm going to mention Natalie Ternedden, who will be, if not right now, soon be starting at, I believe it's UCLA, maybe USC at
No,
Berkeley.
it's Berkeley, and it's in the last week of August that she'll begin.
Okay, last week of August. But anyway, here's where I'm going with that. Natalie, I'm very interested in learning through you, from you, what some of the very latest technology is. I'm very interested in learning what is taught in the classroom, not just the academics, but the general venue of what's being taught. What are you learning from those? But I'm very interested in learning technology. She mentioned AI. And I'm generally familiar with that. Just as one topic, Ed, I think I'm learning that we can train AI to do whatever it is we want for it to do. I do believe that one use of AI, which is not good, is a nefarious attempt, would be to replicate you and me, our faces, voices, and so forth, and we're falsely being represented, kind of thing. That would appear to be one illegal use of, or let's say nefarious use of AI. But I do believe there's some other very good uses of AI, and I don't know how to harness all the energy with and what's available to us through AI. But I do believe the Natalie Ternettens of the world can help us learn that, and I'm very interested in learning it. I will say, as a very general elementary statement, so to speak, that if we should be always improving, progressing. If we're not, we're stagnated. And so I heard one person say, if we're still doing today what we did a year ago, maybe it's we're evaluating what we're doing. If we're still doing today what we did 3 years ago, there's a possibility we need to evaluate what changes we need to make. And if we're doing today what we did 5 years ago, that's almost a guarantee we're stagnated. And so technology, people are improving, and we need to improve. And I believe, Ed, it's my premise, all of us need to be improving. And if we're not, we are stagnated. And so I am hungry to learn from you, the Natalie Terneddens of the world, and anyone who has information they're willing to share. And my hope is every one of us, as a very effective team, will be willing to share.
And with that, limit the extent that AI can do things.
Yes, and I think it's incumbent on us to learn what is the value and a positive value of AI. And but again, together we're learning how AI can be used nefariously and could be used against my company. But we can learn through each other. And I believe, Ed, by building teams, I first off need to know who I am and what my strengths and weaknesses are. And I want to build my team with people such as you, the Natalies, the Kens, and the other people around who strengthen my weaknesses. And so I need to be confident enough that I can tell you those areas in which I need additional support. And it's just those areas where the team works better than any one individual.
So as you can see this graphic here, which I think is really a beautiful thing, but it looks like the eagle is whispering in my ear or something here. What what do you think Eddie Eagle is saying?
Well, Ed, yeah, the eagle may be saying, hey, Ed, Ron, you need to be paying attention to. You need to be more open to. And I will tell you, Ed, a lot of what I learned from other people is you have a perspective of which I was not aware. And your maybe opinions are formed by whatever events and so forth. But I want to be the kind of person where I ask open-ended questions, and I'm willing to listen to you because I can learn from you. I will tell you, Ed, I'm hungry to learn. It's a much larger, longer story, but in an early life, I would never ask a question because I didn't have the confidence to do that. But I say somewhat jokingly, I'm making up for lost time now.
That's great. That's great. Okay, so now going back in history here, you were a leader, an officer, and a gentleman in a Top Gun kind of Air Force structure. Um, what do you think? How will AI impact what you used to do a long time ago?
Well, I think in a lot of ways it can help us with critical thinking. And I believe it was maybe Gary Sanger, but one of the, if not him, it was one of the, or no, it may have been Christian who mentioned critical thinking. That I do think that always critical thinking. And one aspect of critical thinking, Ed, is what if? What if various things were to happen? And so it's possible and I'm learning, but it's possible that AI might be able to help us help us with a what if analysis. What if whatever were to happen? What are the consequences? And so the more informed I am, and the more ready, if I could use that term, I am to encounter different circumstances, the greater confidence I'll have in pursuing whatever it is to head off chaos. And so I always want to try to be mentally prepared for the what ifs. And one of the things that we did in mission planning and going into a combat zone, we're heavily reliant on intelligence, weather, in what are all the facts and factors that are involved in and around the target of opportunity that we are pursuing. And so I want to know where the enemy forces are. I want to know exactly what to do should I encounter them, and what if the enemy forces are not exactly where I anticipated. So I have to react almost instantaneously, Ed. But I'm able to do that because I have thought through before we ever took off. I've thought through and I've mentally thought, what if? What if this were to happen? And but I've already thought ahead of, I hope, any situation that I can think into. And I believe, Ed, that AI can help me with that critical thinking. But I think I'm learning, and here's where I need to shore up what my inadequacies. I think if we train AI to think as we do, then AI can help with those what if analyses. But I think I'll always be of the opinion, Ed, that will ever replace the human brain. We can use AI to augment us, but I don't know that AI will ever be able to think as well as you and I. Now, on repetitive tasks, absolutely. Repetitive tasks, AI can certainly do repetitive tasks much faster than my brain can. But in terms of innovative thinking, yes, I think can be involved in it, but I'm not sure it's going to be as good as your brain, Ed. That's just at least my thought for this time and yours in my life.
So let's get back to the multi-generational participation on the broadcast yesterday. And I'm going to redo do the next edition of that same show, inviting all of those folks to join us, and of course, try to expand certainly with you, but also others. As I mentioned, Paul Falcone is going to join us as well. And we're going to try to expand the reach across borders as well. Um, in that scope, what do you think should be a topic of conversation? What would you be comfortable with in if you were to do a mini keynote during that next production?
I'd feel comfortable doing many different topics, Ed, but I am, and my thought right now goes to Gary Sanger, who made the statement, well, he's just a farm boy from Idaho. I could use a similar statement, well, I'm just a farm boy from Maryland. I mean that to say, and I suspect Gary means it to say as well. Well, let's try to reduce this to some elementary terms. And what are some very fundamental values that apply to any person of any age? It doesn't matter the Gen X, Y, Z, Boomer, Millennial, so forth. Merely characterize an age, but it doesn't define your values. That is my perception. But I think one of the very fundamental, elementary aspects of relationships, it doesn't matter how old you are, people want to know you care. Do you
Well,
care enough to know who I am? And it was mentioned during your previous session that doesn't matter how old you are, you might be caring for, if not an aging parent, you may be caring for a child or anyone who needs additional support. And do I care enough as a senior leader in a company to know that? And I hope my staff knows I do care enough to know that. And am I willing to adjust to your needs? Because I know that whatever is happening at home, there is a continuum between home and work, that I do want to take care of your concerns at home, because I know if your home needs are not being taken care of, it may have an adverse effect at work, and the reverse of that is true as well. If I don't have a good environment at work, I may adversely affect your home life. So, Ed, I think one of the let's say the overarching transformational aspects of people, doesn't matter how old you are, everybody wants to know that they're cared for. You care enough about me to know about me. And I think that is one of the transitional values that goes across the board. And so I really don't care what your age is, but I hope that, and the term was used, having the right people in the right seats on the bus. And so I can apply that to mean, all right, do we share the same values? And if we do, then yep, you can fit well in my company. But if you're the type person, and I don't care how old you are, that you say that, well, I should be paid 40 hours, but I only want to work 10 hours. I should be paid 40 hours and only work 10. And I would think, okay, I want to know more about that. And so for that kind of thing, Ed, you may not fit in my company. And so, but okay, but that person may say, I can only work, let's say 30 some hours because I have needs at home. And if I know your values align with mine, I know you're going to somehow put in, let's say 40 hours of work, even though maybe you can't put in 40 hours on the clock. And so that's where I care enough about my staff that I want to do whatever I can to meet your needs. But Ed, underlying all of that is I would hope that I have team members who have the all-in mindset. You and I have talked about mindset in the past. And so those are some of the fundamental values that I'm looking for, and in cross-generational.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Gary Sanger he's got a really keen insight into executive talent and what C-suite boards are thinking about when they're hiring Gary Sanger to do a search for six, seven-figure employees.
Yes, and I think when you look at those and you discover the attributes of those senior executives who are very effective at what they do, I think you'll find that there are some fundamental values that align across the board with those type people. One of those values being that I care about my people. I want to know about them, and so the way I care about them, know them, will necessarily be different if they are in the workplace, we are co-located, or if we are geographically separated. But I would hope they still feel a part of the team, an integral part of the team, even though we are geographically separated.
One of the things from a previous production that you and I did was a slide that showed how much you care. And with in black and white, big letters saying, I will never denigrate you. I believe in you. That's
Well, see,
strong,
yes,
very
and
strong.
Ed, that's one of the, and I like to hire on values, and I would ask a person in an open-ended way that what would you do if someone made a statement about you that you didn't like? What would you do? How would you approach that person? What would you do? And so one of my fundamental values is those on my team, we pledge our values are such that Ed, I will never denigrate you. I'll never intentionally denigrate you. Now, there is a possibility I may have said something that you interpreted differently, but I would hope in a psychologically safe space, you would feel that you can approach me and what did I mean by? And so, Ed, you may say that, well, Ron, you said this. Yeah, I want to know more about it. Did I took it as, and is that what you meant? And we may find out, Ed, no, I apologize to you, Ed. That's not even a little bit of what I said. It's just my manner of speaking. I did not adjust and adapt to you, possibly. But Ed, we can overcome those kind of things right away. And I've said it more than a bunch of times that we can resolve anything as long as we are willing to dialogue with each other. And if I denigrate you, then you have no reason to dialogue with me.
That's very strong. So, breath of fresh air. So, what are you going to be doing over the 4th of July holiday weekend?
Well, Marty and I together, and for your listeners, Marty and I will be September 7th, we'll be celebrating 57 years of marriage. We always celebrate our nation's freedom and those who fought for that freedom. And so we may go somewhere for fireworks. It'll be dependent on just, I don't know, whatever it is we feel like doing. But we always like to get together with families over the 4th of July, that kind of thing. But we always remember the 4th of July is about our nation's freedom, and that's foundational. And then we can celebrate by being under the pavilion and cooking together, eating together, and so forth. But that's just one of the things that we would have planned. No firm plans yet, but that's just generally what. But how about you, Ed? Any difference on the West Coast?
Well, here in Coronado, in San Diego, it's a Navy town and big time. And there's always a celebration of life and red, white, and blue with massive fireworks at night. Uh, and so we live right across the street from where they're going to shoot them off. We're right across the street from Seaport Village, and next to that is the USS Midway, which is now a museum. And across the water is Naval Base Coronado. And down the water a little bit into the harbor is San Diego Naval Base, which is a huge complex, all
And
combined.
we are somewhat comparable. We're 20 minutes north of Naval Air Station Patuxent River in Maryland, and about 1 hour south of Joint Base Andrews. And so we too are surrounded by military. And for your listeners, I was 22 years Air Force, and so everything about me is a military basis.
Interesting. So as we come to a close in the next few minutes here of this discussion about Gen Z, this program, as I mentioned earlier, will be in the next edition in early July, and I'll get back to you and the others once I can coalesce a date package and time. This same kind of time would work for you?
Yes, definitely will work for me. This is a high enough priority with me, Ed, that I'll certainly do everything I can to adjust to your time schedule. But just before we went on the air, I sent you an email message with my time availability over the next couple of weeks. And but it's a very important topic. But again, to repeat a little bit, those of us who are boomers will be transitioning out of wherever we are, and we want to pass the reins on to. And we have no reason to expect that those younger than us will do everything exactly the way we did things. And so I don't have that expectation, but my hope is that those who take over for us will maintain the same values that we represent. And and I do believe that those values that we care for each other, and that's an overarching theme that when we do project the fact that we care, we will determine exactly who a person is. And Gen Z is, that's a very broad characterization, but for me, it defines an age, but it doesn't define who that person is. And so I want to know who the person is and their perspective, their life upbringings and so forth. But again, Ed, I can learn from everybody, and I am hungry to learn. So everybody has a perspective, and when we are all in as a team, we're going to function well as a team. And I think it's John Maxwell who said, "If you want to go fast, go by yourself. But if you want to go far, go with a team."
That's really cool. That's interesting. Maxwell leadership, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So, uh, looking ahead, what is the way to best communicate across borders and cultures on this topic of multi-gen?
The best way. I don't know that there is a best way. I always ask people, what is your preferred communication media? Some people like text, email, telephone, whatever it is. I will do what I can to adapt to that person. I do believe, Ed, there's a lot of value in video, that we have facial expressions. And so I am a big believer that video is very definitely a very positive way to get in front of people. And technology is such now that, yep, we can reach almost anybody, anytime, anywhere in the world. You know that very well with your international business. And but I don't know that there is a best way. I guess, Ed, my input might be that Zoom seems to work very well. And if someone doesn't fit with that very well, but they have a very valuable message, I want to try to adapt to them if for some reason Zoom doesn't work. And so that's a lot of who I am. And then in terms of keynote addresses, I personally like to be in person because I like to interact with people who are in the crowd, and I'll adjust and adapt to them with my keynote address. So that's kind of a long, expansive answer to your question.
Well, I thank you very much for doing this. Okay, well, I thank you very much. I'll come back to you. I really have enjoyed this brief meeting with you.
Thank you, Ed. I appreciate being with you always. And let's see, we'll be together again. Just before the 4th of July. So I wish you a happy 4th on our next meeting.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks,
Okay,
Ed. Have a great day.
I'll get back to you. Thank you all for watching, and please come back to Global TV Talk Show. Thank you.